Hello and welcome to SatTV Week, the news programme for the international satellite industry. This week, James Shortland reports on ICESat-2 and Trisha Jones has the launch news. But first, here's Carrie-Anne with the news headlines.
Global satellite operator SES and Russian fixed satellite service operator Gazprom Space System have entered into a strategic partnership to provide additional satellite capacity to serve the Russian market. Under the terms of a multi-year agreement, SES has relocated its Astra 1F satellite, previously located at 51 degrees east, to the orbital location 55 degrees east. GSS will utilise 16 Ku-band FSS transponders on the Astra 1F satellite to provide comm services for Western Russia ahead of the arrival of GSS's Yamal 402 satellite in 2012. In return, SES will use capacity on GSS's Yamal 402 once it becomes operational at 55 degrees east. Yamal 402 is currently under construction and scheduled for launch in November 2012. An extensive free upgrade for Thrane and Thrane flagship vehicular B-GAN terminal Explorer 727 was made available for download at www.thrane.com on the 5th of September. The upgrade transforms the leading on-the-move B-GAN terminal by adding the unique capability to utilise Inmarsat's premium IP streaming service B-GAN Extreme when stationary. The software upgrade will be implemented on all new Explorer 727 terminals in addition to the free download for existing terminals. After the upgrade, the terminal effectively becomes a two-in-one terminal. B-GAN Extreme enables broadcasters to access the world's fastest on-demand video streaming via satellite, which until today was only available on portable Inmarsat Class 1 terminals.
According to a recently released report from the US National Research Council, the amount of space junks floating in Earth's orbit has reached a critical level, with the threat that future space missions may become too dangerous to fly. The NRC report calls for NASA to launch a plan to clean up the floating debris and call on other major space nations to cooperate. Some scenarios generated by the agency's meteoroid and orbital debris models show that debris has reached a tipping point, with enough currently in orbit to continually collide and create even more debris, raising the risk of spacecraft failures that could put human and robotic space operations at risk. Now here's Trisha with this week's launch news.
Arianespace has decided to carry out supplementary checks on the engine powering the ESCA cryogenic upper stage that will be used on flight VA204 carrying the Arabsat 5C and SES-2 spacecraft. After the checks, the new launch date will be announced. Atlantic Bird 7, the payload for the 31st Sea launch mission, has arrived in Long Beach, California from the Toulouse manufacturing facilities of Astrim on board an Antonov AN-124 cargo aircraft. Owned and operated by Eutelsat SA, it is based on Astrim's Eurostar 3000 platform and is optimised for high-growth broadcasting markets with two beams to provide superior coverage across the Middle East, including Gulf states as well as North Africa and Northwest Africa. From its ocean-based launch site located directly on the equator at 154 degrees west longitude, a Zenit 3SL launch vehicle will lift the 4,600 kilograms spacecraft into an optimised geosynchronous transfer orbit on its way to its final geostationary orbit at 7 degrees west longitude.
Orbital Sciences Corporation has been selected by NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center to design, build and test the $135 million Ice, Cloud and Land Elevation Satellite 2, which is scheduled for launch in 2016. ICESat-2 is the next generation successor to the original ICESat satellite, which operated from 2003 to 2010. James has the story.
The ICESat-2 satellite will be based on Orbital's LeoStar 3 platform, the same technology that has been used for NASA's Landsat Data Continuity Mission spacecraft, which is currently being assembled and tested at the company's Gilbert, Arizona satellite manufacturing facility. ISAT-2 will use precision laser ranging techniques to measure the topography of the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets and the thickness of sea ice. The mission was recommended by the National Research Council in its 2007 decadal survey of NASA Earth Science research priorities. The satellite supports NASA's Earth Science program by helping scientists develop a better scientific understanding of the Earth system and its response to natural or human-induced changes. From 2003 to 2010, the original ISAT mission provided multi-year elevation data needed to determine ice sheet mass balances, as well as cloud property information, especially for stratospheric clouds common over polar areas. The next generation program, ISAT-2, will continue the scientific data collection along with quantifying polar ice sheet contributions to recent and current sea level change and linkages to climate conditions, as well as assessing regional signatures of ice sheet changes to understand the mechanisms driving these changes and improve predictive ice sheet models.
And now here's Carrie-Anne with more news.
Global Satellite US has just announced the launch of iSat Shadow, the first Bluetooth-enabled device that is compatible with a satellite phone, BGAN terminal and other mobile phone. The iSat Shadow replaces the need for a docking station and supports callers' telephone number and caller ID display, the first letter searching of contacts, phone call history, call vibration, call ringtone, keypad lock, phone book synchronization, and comes complete with echo cancellation and noise reduction for perfect sound. The handset has a rechargeable li-polymer battery and has a nominal charging time for 2 hours. There is an LED indicator light for the keyboard to view at night and has a mini 5-pin USB plug charging port. Croatia's Classic TV, a new TV channel headquartered in Zagreb, is now being distributed by the Amos satellite fleet located at the 4 degrees west orbital position. Spacecom is working with OIV Transmitters and Communications, the government-owned transmission centre, to bring the new channel to Croatia and the rest of the Balkan region. Classic TV, a privately owned channel broadcasting 24 hours daily, features oldies and classic programming for the cable and direct-to-home markets. Its entertainment lineup includes local productions such as movies, documentaries, cartoons and television series from the past 5 decades.
And finally, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has captured the sharpest images ever taken from space of the Apollo 12, 14 and 17 landing sites. Images show the twists and turns of the paths made when the astronauts explored the lunar surface. At the Apollo 17 site, the tracks laid down by the lunar rover are clearly visible, along with the last foot trails left on the moon. The images also show where the astronauts placed some of the scientific instruments that provided the first insight into the moon's environment and interior. The higher resolution images were possible because of adjustments made to the craft's orbit, which is slightly oval-shaped or elliptical. The orbit moved the craft to within 21 kilometres as it passed over the moon's surface. The spacecraft has remained in this orbit for 28 days, long enough for the moon to completely rotate. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching.